It was just after 2 a.m. when flames lit up the sky over a quiet cul-de-sac in Chatham Hill, Virginia. By the time firefighters reached the house at 42 Mariner Lane, it was already too late. The fire had consumed everything. The home belonged to the Morgan family, Brian, Denise, and their 17-year-old daughter, Lily. All three were presumed dead. In the rubble, investigators discovered 3 badly burned bodies. One of them, smaller than the others, was believed to be Lily. Dental records were inconclusive. The fire had been too intense. But the town mourned anyway. A closed casket funeral was held. 3 white caskets, 3 framed portraits, 100 tear-streaked faces. And that was supposed to be the end. But it wasn't. 7 months later, in a strip mall in Joplin, Missouri, over 900 miles from where Lily supposedly died, a security guard calls local police about a girl acting strangely outside a frozen yogurt shop. She's barefoot. She won't speak. She looks terrified. She doesn't have ID, but she gives a name, Danielle Weaver. Officers run it. Nothing comes up. But when they take her in for processing, she suddenly says, "I'm not Danielle. My name is Lily. Lily Morgan." At first, they think it's a mistake, a runaway making up stories. But when the detective on duty Googles the name, his stomach drops. Lily Morgan died in a house fire last year. DNA confirms it 2 days later. It's her. She's alive. When detectives in Missouri confirmed the girl's identity, news spread like wildfire. Lily Morgan, not dead, not burned alive. Alive and 900 miles from home. The press called it a miracle. Her town called it resurrection. But the questions came faster than the answers. Where had she been for 7 months? And whose body was in her place? Lily stayed mostly silent in the days that followed, speaking only to one person, a man named Thomas Rayburn. He was 42, a former police officer, quiet, clean record. He claimed he was Lily's legal guardian. When asked how that was possible, he simply said, "Ask her." So they did. And what Lily said made the case even more disturbing. She claimed she'd been living with Thomas for years. Not just the last 7 months, but since she was 11 years old. She said her parents had abused her, that Thomas helped her escape, that he'd saved her. But here's the catch. There's no legal record of any guardianship, no custody case, no foster arrangement, no police report, nothing. When investigators checked Thomas's past, they found something strange. He'd been forced to resign from the Richmond Police Department in 2017 after allegations of inappropriate behavior with a minor. No charges were ever filed. That minor was never identified. Now they're wondering, was it Lily? And then comes the most chilling discovery of all. When pressed about the fire, Lily refuses to answer. When asked whose body was found in her place, she stares at the floor and says one sentence. That girl wasn't supposed to be there. After Lily's reappearance and her cryptic statement, that girl wasn't supposed to be there. Investigators reopened the fire case. They exhumed the remains. This time, they didn't rely on dental records. They sent samples for advanced DNA analysis. And it came back with a bombshell. The body in Lily's bedroom wasn't her. It wasn't even related to the Morgan family. It belonged to a girl named Michaela Reese, aged 15, reported missing 2 weeks before the fire, from the very same county where Lily had lived. But here's what shook detectives even more. Michaela and Lily had been classmates 3 years earlier. There were no records showing they stayed in touch. But someone remembered something. A school nurse recalled an odd encounter. Michaela once came in with a bruised wrist, and Lily had come in right after, crying and saying it was her fault. Nothing came of it. No investigation, no follow-up, just 2 girls in pain. Now one is dead, and the other may be lying. At this point, suspicion shifted. What if Lily wasn't just a runaway? What if she knew exactly what happened the night the fire started? And why would a 15-year-old missing girl, with no known connection to Lily's family, be found in Lily's bed, in Lily's clothes, burned beyond recognition? One detective puts it bluntly, "We've got a girl who disappeared, a body misidentified, and a fire that looks more like a cover-up than a tragedy. Meanwhile, Thomas, the ex-cop, has vanished. His car was found outside a storage facility in Oklahoma. Inside the unit, a backpack with Lily's name stitched into the lining, and photos of her sleeping dating back at least 5 years. Lily was placed under protective custody after Thomas Rayburn disappeared. She wasn't charged. Not yet, but the detectives had more questions than ever, and so did the public. She refused formal interviews, refused therapy. Her only communication came through a single item recovered from Thomas's storage unit. A journal. It was spiral-bound, torn in places, nearly every page filled in messy, looping handwriting. The first entries dated back to when Lily was just 12. The last one was written 2 days before the fire. Some of the entries were heartbreaking. He says I'm safe now. He says they don't love me like he does. I dreamed I was burning. I woke up and smelled smoke, but it wasn't real. Michaela keeps asking me why I'm scared all the time. I can't tell her. He said I'd ruin everything. But other entries were disturbing. If she leaves, they'll find me. She says she's going to talk. I can't let her. It has to look like I was in there. Otherwise, they'll never stop. When the alarm goes off, I'll run. I have to run. Investigators began to piece it together. But the timeline was warped, scattered. Some entries contradicted each other. Some read like dreams. Others like confessions. But one thing was clear. Michaela Reese was in that house the night of the fire. And it wasn't an accident. Lily never explained how Michaela got there, or why she was in Lily's clothes. But the journal made one thing impossible to ignore. Lily planned to disappear. The fire wasn't a tragedy. It was a strategy. And suddenly, the question wasn't whether Lily was a victim. It was whether she had manipulated everyone, even her so-called rescuer. And if that's true, who is Lily Morgan, really? 10 days after Thomas Rayburn vanished, the FBI traced a receipt found in his abandoned vehicle. A cash purchase for fuel, matches, and non-perishables made at a gas station just outside Cedar Hollow, Oklahoma. Locals pointed them to a stretch of woods 3 miles deep, where no GPS worked, and cell signal disappeared completely. That's where they found the cabin. It was almost invisible from the road, swallowed by trees, windows blacked out from the inside. Inside the cabin, it was silent and chilling. No lights, no electricity, just stacked boxes, bolted doors, and photos. Hundreds of photos, pinned to corkboards, lined along the walls, crammed into boxes labeled by month and year. Almost every photo showed Lily, at the park, in school, on a swing, sleeping, crying. Some of the photos went back almost a decade, starting from when she was around 8 years old. And then they found something else. In a locked room behind a false wall, they discovered what appeared to be a recording setup. A small bed, restraints, a tripod, and a microphone. On the floor, 3 burned journals. Pages ripped out, handwriting matching Lily's. But not all the tapes had been destroyed. One mini cassette, labeled L March 4th, 19, was recovered and restored. The audio lasted 23 minutes. Most of it was silence. But at the 14-minute mark, Lily's voice is heard whispering. He says if I ever talk, I'll disappear for real this time. Michaela keeps asking what this place is. I told her it's where he keeps broken things. Investigators froze. Michaela had been there. She wasn't just a body in the fire. She had been in the cabin before the fire ever started. Which means someone brought her back to the Morgan house the night she died. But who? Thomas? Lily? Or both? 3 weeks into the reopened investigation, forensic teams returned to the charred Morgan home. What was left of it? The main structure had collapsed in the fire, but the basement remained mostly intact beneath the wreckage. Investigators hadn't searched it deeply the first time. They believed it had caved in. It hadn't. Behind a scorched water heater and under loose floorboards, they found a hidden compartment, no more than 8 feet across. Inside it were 2 chairs, both bolted to the ground, both fitted with buckled restraints. The walls were soundproofed with foam. The single bulb hanging from the ceiling had melted, fused into the socket. But it was the writing on the wall that chilled investigators. Scrawled in marker, uneven, shaky letters. "Am I Lily yet?" There were scratch marks on the wall, a torn scrap of flannel cloth, faded blood stains, and one final item inside a rusted metal box. A burner phone destroyed by heat, but its SIM card partially survived. Forensic recovery yielded one voicemail, 2 seconds long. It was sent to the phone just hours before the fire. The voice on the recording was female, broken, barely audible over static. She says, "She won't let me leave." Authorities believe it was Michaela. Suddenly, the fire wasn't the beginning of the story anymore. It was the end of something horrific. Michaela wasn't just a random runaway. She may have been held, conditioned, and forced to play a role. A role Lily wanted to vanish forever. And now, detectives had to ask, was Lily a girl trying to survive? Or a girl who had learned how to become someone else completely? Lily was transferred to a secure psychiatric facility outside St. Louis after investigators deemed her a potential danger to herself and possibly others. She hadn't spoken since the discovery of the basement. Not to detectives, not to doctors. She sat in her room for hours at a time, sketching the same image over and over. 2 girls, one with her eyes closed, one with no mouth. When a forensic psychiatrist named Dr. Yasmin Kroll was brought in, she was warned. Lily had a history of trauma, unreliable memory, and obsessive behavior. But Dr. Kroll noticed something different. Lily didn't seem confused. She seemed detached from her own timeline. She recalled events that never happened. She described birthdays no one remembered. She mentioned friends no one could identify. And then, in a recorded session, she said something that changed the direction of the investigation. Dr. Kroll asked her a simple question. "When did you first meet Michaela?" Lily blinked, smiled slightly, and said, "Michaela was always with me, even before she had a name." When pressed further, she added, "She used to say I was the real one, but then they started calling her Lily, and I had to go away for a while." Dr. Kroll suspected what others had missed. Lily may have suffered from dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder, but the timeline was warped. It didn't make sense. Then came the discovery that twisted the case even further. Lily's original birth certificate, filed in Georgia, not Virginia, listed her as an only child. But a second certificate, sealed in a family court file in Richmond, revealed a twin, Lillian Grace Morgan and Michaela Elise Morgan, born 4 minutes apart, separated by the state when they were 6. Michaela was placed in a different home. Lily stayed with the Morgans. No one ever reunited them, until someone did. And that someone was Thomas Rayburn. Investigators pored through Thomas Rayburn's past, looking for any trace of how he found Michaela, and why. What they uncovered wasn't just disturbing, it was obsessive. Thomas had served in child protective services before becoming a cop. His file showed multiple disciplinary notes for overstepping boundaries with vulnerable children. He was flagged twice for developing emotional dependencies on female wards. Each case was closed with no charges. Each time, he transferred departments quietly. But the paper trail led to a foster home in Gainesville, Georgia, where a caseworker had once placed twin girls named Lily and Michaela Morgan. Back then, Michaela had been removed from the home due to suspected neglect. Lily remained. Records show that after the separation, Lily began experiencing severe dissociation, hallucinations, and role confusion. Thomas had reviewed that case in his early CPS days. He was fascinated. Years later, after becoming a police officer in Virginia, he made a series of late-night database queries. The name he searched repeatedly, Michaela Elise Morgan. He found her. She was 14, a runaway, living under a temporary placement 2 towns over. No one looking for her, and Thomas took her. But it wasn't just an abduction. It was an experiment. Witnesses later came forward to describe how Thomas introduced Michaela as Lily to neighbors, how she wore different clothes, had her hair dyed, how she was told to forget the past. And Michaela played along until she started remembering that her name wasn't Lily, that there was another girl, one who looked like her, but wasn't her. And that's when she tried to leave. And that's when Lily, the real Lily, reappeared. Somehow the sisters were reunited. And someone decided that there could only be one of them. Only one Lily Morgan. And the house burned. 12 days after the cabin was discovered, a game warden 40 miles north of Tulsa spotted a man sleeping in a collapsed barn. It was Thomas Rayburn. He didn't run. He didn't speak. In custody, he refused legal counsel and ate nothing for 72 hours. Then, on the third day, he made a single request. A tape recorder. What he left behind was a 43-minute monologue. Rambling, erratic, but coldly articulate in the worst places. The FBI labeled it a psychological confession. He starts by saying, "They were both Lily, at different times. I didn't take anything from them. I gave them structure." He refers to Michaela as the weaker twin, someone who kept trying to wake up the other one. Then he explains what he saw in the Morgan case file. "You ever see a child fight for space in their own head? She was splintered before I ever found her. I just helped the better half take control." He details how he found Michaela in a group home. "She didn't know who she was. I made sure she became who she was supposed to be." Lily was the name with power, the name with memory, the name with protection. He claims he reintroduced the sisters not as family, but as roles. Michaela wasn't ready to surrender the identity. She wanted to go back to the pain. She wanted to be nobody again. And then, calmly, without emotion, he says, "I gave them the tools to decide. The fire wasn't my choice. But I didn't stop it. That would have been a lie." His final words are nearly whispered. You can't save both sides of a broken mind. After the tape ends, Thomas reportedly looked at the agent across from him and asked, "So, which one survived?" 6 months after the fire, 3 months after Lily reappeared, and 2 weeks after Thomas Rayburn's final confession, the case was declared closed. But behind closed doors, the FBI kept digging, not for legal reasons but for clarity. They weren't convinced by Lily's story. The timeline didn't add up. Her journal entries felt staged. The basement setup, the clothes, the restraints. It all looked too clean, too deliberate, like it was designed to be found. That's when they re-examined the DNA. You see, the body in the fire had originally been identified by soft tissue DNA. But they never tested the girl who came back, not independently. Not until now. They ran a deep comparison. Bone marrow samples, mitochondrial markers, sibling matching. And what they found was devastating. The girl who came back was not Lily Morgan. She was Michaela. The body in the fire? Lily. The real one. Everything unravels. Michaela had assumed her sister's identity. She wore her clothes. She mimicked her handwriting. She read every page of Lily's journals and continued writing in the same voice. She didn't escape the fire. She walked away from it. But why? That answer came in the form of a final, hidden page, discovered behind the lining of Lily's last notebook. It was burned, brittle, but legible. It read, "She doesn't know who she is anymore. She walks like me, talks like me, even dreams like me. But I see it in her eyes. She wants to be me. She wants to erase me. If you're reading this, I lost." Michaela had watched her sister burn. And when she stepped into her life, the world believed her, because she had been made to mirror Lily for years. By Thomas. By the lies. By trauma. And in the end, she became Lily. Fully. Permanently. Even under arrest, she answered to one name, Lily Morgan, because that's who survived. And when the psychologist asked her, "Do you remember who Michaela was?" she smiled and whispered, "I watched her die. Please subscribe."